welcome everybody to Tasty Tuesdays. I am Lorene, your host from Crafting Possibilities. And tonight we have Jo Bezzina from Boho Buddha and also co-owner of Breathe Stretch Floats. Bit too long put across the bottom, but there you go. Hi Jo, how are you going today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm absolutely fabulous. I've had just the most amazing day today. I had only 1 2-hour shift and then I've just floated around. And for the first time ever, we were just talking about the moons and stuff, and full moons always wipe me out. And for once, I feel like the universe conspired with me to give me the space to just chill and be with the energy of the full moon today. I was so happy.
Nice. And see, I find that when that happens, because I'm used to being so busy all the time, when I do stop, because I had a day similar to that, I'm like, what do I do? Like, there is a lot of stuff that I need to do, but I'm just like, what do I do? Like, I've got no idea. And I kept looking at the clock and I'm like looking, and I'm just like, wow, this is what normal people feel like when they actually don't go like a bull in a china shop like I do.
Mm-hmm. I know, right? It's like I ended up just hanging out with some friends for several hours, and one of them was doing putting like the vinyl things on the fronts of t-shirts, iron-on things that they'd created with their crickets. And I was just like, I'd never seen the process done, and I was like, hi. I'm just going to sit here and drink my coffee and just watch you do what you're doing because I've never seen it done. She's like, yeah, I thought that was the case.
It's like magpie, shiny objects. Ooh.
Well, I just learned so much that way. It's always been the case for me. You know, I learned so many things just by watching my granddad do what he does on the farm, did on the farm. Anyway.
Magpie, shiny objects.
Alrighty, everybody. Now that we've settled into the taste, the embodiment of Tasty Tuesdays, let me introduce Jo properly. So Jo is the co-owner of Breathe Stretch Float in the Central Adelaide CBD, bringing together her talents and skills as a qualified yoga teacher and becoming the very first SoulNar Sound and Energy practitioner in Australia. That's pretty fucking cool, by the way. Jo also incorporates these very special healing modalities and often runs sound baths and energy healing in the Himalayan Salt Cave at Breathe Stretch Float under the banner of Boho Buddha, as well as events all around the state, and holds various retreats, experience workshops that inspire participants to follow their own journey to discover how frequency, energy, and vibration can heal the mind and body. Wow! Thank you so much for joining us. What a potent combo that you are.
One tries one's best. And I will just say, the first SoulNar practitioner to practice in a salt cave. So because there are some beautiful SoulNar practitioners around Australia, and last year in October there were 8 of us in South Australia that were the first to actually in South Australia become SoulNar practitioners. So
cool.
It's an amazing.
I'll edit that one.
That's all right. It's all good. It's okay. I understand that there was a whole lot of a mouthful of everything there. That's okay.
We will dive into a little bit more about what SoulNar is, because I don't know too much about that. So that's pretty cool. I love it when I get guests on that I don't know much about what they do, and we can sort of tease that out, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Sure.
So I'd love to know, how did you begin on your spiritual journey?
I think for me, it's always been there, but more in the background, I think. And so my mum was always a, when Dr. Sandra Cabot was around, like when she was the most well-known alternative, I guess you could say, person back in the 80s, I guess. And mum dabbled in bits and pieces of her work. Sometimes we'd go to a naturopath, and like back then, and especially coming from a European background, that was a really big thing. It was like, seems too witch doctory and all that sort of stuff. And for me, I really liked just that whole different thing. And I think a whole theme for me in my life was always feeling different. You know, I was bullied quite a fair bit right through primary school and high school, which because of that day in and day out, that then formed, you know, my idea of myself. You know, because as a kid, as you're growing up, you think, well, if someone keeps calling me that, or if they see me as that, then I am that. So, and I always ventured towards music as a way of just of a form of escapism. So then fast forward, you know, got married, my early 30s, separated at the age of 40, and it seemed like that the year I turned 40, it was like everything just happened. You know, my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer. I turned 40. My marriage broke down, and it was a bit nuts. But I'd already started that year doing a lot of personal development stuff. So that initial personal development thing that I did, I firmly believe that was what helped me cope and take charge and sort of help mum through her journey. And then later on in that year, when my ex-husband and I separated, it was the first time in my life that I fully understood that no matter how many people you have around you, you can still feel alone. So for me, it was like at one point, you know, you go through your stages, and it was just one day, I think I just sort of snapped out. I went, right, time to, you know, cut the shit, basically, excuse the French, and start, you know, about it. So I actually came across a lovely lady who was teaching Reiki 1. Went and did that, and I thought, this is awesome. And it was the first time in my life that I actually saw my aura at first, because I'd never seen it before, but that's only because I was attuned, like right there and then. It didn't last very long, but I was living in an old house at the time, and I remember seeing it and going forward and looking in the mirror, wiping and thinking, oh, must be some smudge or whatever, so I'm wiping it. And I'm like, cool. And it just sort of dawned on me, like, wow, this is my aura. So, yeah, and I just little bits and pieces, baby steps. And it was, you know, do some the personal development stuff, learn some new skills, let it marinate, you know, you do the work, and then you move on to something else and something else and something else. So fast forward, during that period of time, I sat there, and whenever people used to say, oh, you know, manifest what you want, I'll be very honest and say I thought it was a load of rubbish, right? Because, well, you know,
I'm a healthy skeptic. I get it.
And I just remember one day, this was probably month 6, I think, of being separated, and I just had this major meltdown in the bathtub, and I'm going, I don't think I'm asking for much. All I want is to have someone that, and I literally just, without even knowing I was doing it at first, going through like a whole list of things that I wanted in a partner. And I kid you not, it was within a couple of weeks that I then met Jim. And when we were talking, we actually were talking about the couple of weeks leading up to where we were, and we were literally within a few hundred meters of each other. We could have crossed each other in the street. That's how close we were. But it's almost like, I picture it like a Rubik's Cube, but with us, you know, doing that, and until everything was ready to settle in the one place. So fast forward, you know, Jim and I spoke about, you know, what we love doing, and et cetera, et cetera. And he, at that point, had Breeze Stretch Float in mind, the idea behind it. And I'm just like, right, you've got to do it. I'm giving you the very shortened version. And then I just thought, this is amazing. And of course, then after we've created it together, you know, and then Boho Buddha's been my little spin-off of it. But there's been so many amazing people that we've been able to meet through the business, and obviously as we're developing as our own people and we're healing as well, we're vibrating at different levels. You know, we're giving off that different energy. So, of course, we're meeting different people that we may not have in the past. We're like a real deep connection, and that sense of feeling like that you've known people forever, but you literally just met them. So, yeah. And then last, I've taken long-term leave from my day job, and have just been absolutely loving it. I've had so many people saying your energy has changed, you look younger, like just I feel different even in myself, and just learning all these different things, and for the first time in my life actually feeling like I'm starting to get to know who I am, if that makes sense, because I don't think that I've ever known that, because I've always been in a caring role and helping everybody else, and just being in a caring or parenting role, etc. And I've just never gotten to know who I am. So it's been very interesting. Like I look at it now after my 47th spin around the earth. And just having that reflection and going, do you know what? All the things that used to matter to me in the past just don't anymore. And it's that as soon as when you're doing all of this stuff and you're doing that work on yourself, that healing, a lot of the material stuff just doesn't matter anymore, because, like when we're in that crisis mode, we're not happy. We feel like that we need these things. These things are always going to make us happy. The bigger house, the flashy car, the whatever. And it's actually not. It's just being happy with who you are, no matter where you are at life. Yeah, look, I could stand to lose a couple of kilos, but hey, you know what I mean? I just use that as an example because we seem to be on this endless, treadmill of, no pun intended, of, how we feel and this and the other. But, I'm quite at peace with where I'm at right now, and it feels amazing. I love it. I can honestly say that right now I feel the happiest that I have ever been.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree with you there. Like the days, I mean, it's not to say that the days from time to time don't come with challenges, because they certainly do. When you've got independent people that have come together, even if you're really well aligned, you still have those moments where one of you is more tired than the other, or you've got some slightly different viewpoints about something or whatever. So there's always going to be small challenges along the way, but I can quite honestly agree with you. I feel exactly the same, and it's quite ironic because at the same time that you had all that stuff when you turned 40, which is roughly 7 years ago, that's when I had my big bam into the spiritual world as well. That was about 7 years ago now too, and I'm just like, I wonder what was up in the world, and what was in the water back then.
Absolutely.
And a quick hello to Barry and Tanya. Hi guys. They're in the chat there. On your screen, you can jump over to where it says private or chat. You can click on there and you'll see it. Forgot to say that in the green room earlier. We were too busy chatting. We're talking about the moon. Oh my goodness. I'm so, this is going to sound a little bit sadistic, but I'm actually really happy that all that stuff happened to you when you were 40.
Same.
And that, you were sort of pushed forward into this realm of finding out who you are and embracing your capacities and talents, because it's like the energy that you have now for, yourself, for gym, for your businesses, it's like, and for obviously for the yoga students and all your participants and your workshops and things, it's the impact that you're making across the board now is so much greater than what it would be if you're still just sitting in your corporate job feeling miserable about life.
Yeah. Look, don't get me wrong. It's not that I have actually marked in my diary with a big sad face the day that I'm meant to go back in June. But at least I'm doing now what I'm enjoying, and I'm taking those steps to actually do it. And look, I'll be honest, I think the universe even got sick and tired of giving me all these warning signs, and just gave up and gave me the hugest kick up the arse just to do it, because I had been toiling with this fact of, do I go and just take some time off work? And, but what happens if there's not going to be enough money? And it was always that thought pattern of, the not having enough, am I going to have enough money? What if? But it was always in the negative. And oh my God, I am so grateful to my boss. She's amazing. She actually said to me one day, I'm going to take 8 or 9 months off from work and blah, blah, blah. So I'm an EA in my corporate job. And so I'm taking some time off. And I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, oh, the started getting. So I'm like, oh. And she's like, I'm not going to leave you in the lurch, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but can I take some time? Can I do it too? And she's like, absolutely. I'm like, score. So I've come home really tired. Poor Jim, he knows exactly what I'm like. As soon as I get excited about something and the ideas there, it's like, on high speed. And so obviously, once I then settled down, there was the serious conversation that we had to have about, there is that whole thing of thinking in the but what if it works type of conversation to, exercising some logic, because apparently you do need to pay your bills. So, but it's been
process.
Well, just one of those things. But it was so good, and he's amazing and so supportive, and we're really very supportive of one another, and it's great to have that, because I don't have anyone on either one of side of my family, like my mum or dad's side of the family, where I could actually say I can use them as a positive role model as to what a healthy relationship looks like. And I feel like the first time in my life, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that everything's all sunshine and lollipops, because then people would call bullshit on me. But it's so amazing. Like we can be playful and childlike together, but we can also do the adulting thing. We absolutely have to. But it's having fun. Like it's been amazing. Like I cannot believe that we've been together for 6 years this year, and it's just like, where has this time gone? Like I'm having the time of my life, and I just can't, express how happy I am right now. And it is so true that when you are living in your value, like living your values, doing the things that you're passionate about, it just changes everything, your mindset, just everything. Yeah, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health. It's great.
I love it. So the big message there is to any of our listeners out there, you're never too old to start.
No. Look, I'm only 11, remember? I'm only 11. 4 and 7's 11. Well, 2 actually.
Oh, sweet. I'm still 8. Oh, yes, as Tanya said, that's being in flow.
Flow, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. 100%. And that's where I'm at right now too. It's like I love my business of crafting possibilities, and last year I took that time off just out of the formal workforce to do my own thing for 12 months. And I did other things. I did renovations and all sorts of things, and played with my business in a much, much bigger way. And it was just such a blessing. And when I was ready to hit back into formal workforce again, it was like, yeah, I'm ready. And I feel like my business now is still flowing so well. Like I've started 2 podcasts during that 12 months, and I've done, like like just worked with a lot of really different and interesting people, and like then we've got this special event coming up soon, and which we'll talk a bit more about that later too. And I feel like as soon as we hit into 2023, I just knew this year was just gonna be fucking amazing. Like I needed that year of rest. I really required a year of rest. I really required that time to detach from corporate and the narcissism and stuff, the bullying that had happened within that business I was working in before. And I really required that time to recover from that as well, because it had messed with my head quite a lot. And in that same sort of time, I was also recovering from a lightly narcissistic relationship that had ended as well. And, it was just an amazing year in so many ways. And I'm grateful, so grateful. And much like yourself, this year, just like, hi.
Yeah.
Here I am. Now what can we do? Let's have some fun, shall we? And
it's been awesome. Like since things have changed, like for me, I'm not going to go, I have to go back. I've actually made the decision that obviously after, having a chat with Jim and stuff, that I'm going to drop a day a week. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that I would have been doing that. But I'm just like, no, because this is the stuff that I love doing and I need to keep this up, because if I don't, then it's just going to go back to the way it was. I'm just going to be constantly weighed down with that whole negative mindset, and I don't want to go back to that, And for me, what I've been doing is actually, rather than going, I don't want to go back and all of that, I've actually rewired my way of thinking to say I am excited to go back, because it means that I am then earning that wage to then be able to do what I love doing. So it's an ends to means, so I'm getting the best of both worlds essentially. So, and doing it that way. And I feel like going back into that space, the stuff that mattered to me before, just won't. I'll just be like, whatever,
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. And that's why when I started into this cleaning job that I do now, with the specific focus of doing hoard and trauma and swallow cleans, because if I wanted to clean houses, well, I'd go and do that. There's plenty of jobs out for that. And I was like, no, I wish to go into this really specific area, because I know that my talents and skills will be best put to use in those areas. And I said at my very first interview, Monday through Thursday, you get me 4 days a week. That's it. The rest of the time is mine. And it's like boom. And they say, they send out emails, oh, you're available on weekends. I'm just like, no, cannot do it.
It's a very long word to understand. No. Yeah, it's interesting that as soon as you start setting those boundaries, the ones that have actually taken advantage of you will be the ones that kick up the fuss the most. But at the same time, there are the people that have taken advantage of you, but you also have had a role in that exchange, so to speak, because you've allowed it to happen. So you've got to take responsibility and go, right, well, in the past, I've allowed this, and it's made me feel like crap. So now I say no, because I don't want to feel that way anymore, and I wish to be treated this way, or, I no longer wish to be treated in that particular way. And that mixed with what I'm doing now, it has just made such a difference. It's insane, and I feel that as soon as you start changing, the people around you, like what I was saying before, like your energy is different, you vibrate differently, and the people around you, it then flows onto them. And like I'll use my mum as an example. Like her and I are very close. We've got a really great relationship, and I've noticed a huge difference in her just in the time that I've been off as well, that even though we've not been able to spend as much time as I would like to, when we do, it's quite meaningful. She's not as stressed as, and the things that would typically stress her as much still do, but not, it's different, and I love that because she means the world to me, and there is nothing more in this world that I would love to see is for her to actually be happy and just enjoy some quality time with us, and she comes to my sound baths. She's always supported me in all my stuff that I have done, from, when I did, I don't even know what got into my head, but it did. And I love when I did my bikini and fitness competitions. I can understand that seeing a whole lot of people in their tidy whities and their bikinis and stuff is quite confronting for a lot of people. But she still came and she supported me. When I was doing my burlesque dancing, she came and, she came to watch the shows. And so, and especially now in the area that I've moved into, it's so awesome to see her there because it's the first time I actually get to see her relaxing. And I love that, because it seems that, that I had followed that, she was always taking care of everyone and putting everyone else first. And then, obviously we go with what we've been modeled, when there's that modeling. So now it's almost like the modeling in reverse. The student now becomes the teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And talking about sound baths, hi, Leanne. Fellow sound bather. So with your journey that you've been on, have you thought about what consciousness means to you?
To me, I think it is very simplified in that it's being awake. And I don't mean having your eyes open and not asleep. I mean, as in that you are truly seeing things, you are mindful in every action that you're doing, because we are so, the busyness of everyone's lives and days, we just seem to go on like robot mode. Whereas, so with that, we're not actually fully experiencing life. So for me, consciousness is that whole being able to slow down, being mindful of everything that you are doing, your actions, your thoughts, in what you do. So it's very simple for me. And look, there's no right or wrong answer, but that's what it is to me. It's just like actually fully being awake and seeing for the first time.
Yeah, I love it. I really enjoy that question because it's like everybody answers differently.
Yeah.
And it's one of those questions that it sort of to me shows from more of that psychological point of view of where you're at in your journey as well. So you're right, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just it's an interesting space to see those who have been on the journey for a long time, how they answer, versus those who have only been on there for maybe a couple of years, how they answer that question. It's very curious. It's a very curious question.
Feel like I'm at the beginning of my journey. I just don't, because there's this whole thing of, like when I started out, again, these little things creep up of what happens if I'm not good enough and people don't turn up, and it's like, hey, stop and just go, because for me, I look at it and go, well, do you know what? I'd practice on, mum, Jim, they're very willing participants. I mean, who wouldn't want to put their hand up to relax for an hour? Leanne as well, she got her shot in having a play as well. But it's my brain's just gone. I've gone on a bit of a wander. Oh, the consciousness. That's right. Magpie shiny objects. For me,
man, we're going to have a great weekend, aren't we?
So for me, I feel like I'm at the beginning of my journey. So for me, I look at it and I go, I know that there are people that, that have been on a journey for many years. So they're up here, so like you were saying, their definition of what they see consciousness as being is like up here. And like, whereas for myself, because I'm only just, I feel like I'm just starting, I also feel that it's really good because it gives other people, like I feel like that I'm a role model for other people who are just starting on their journey as well. It's like when you go to, you know, when you ask somebody for an opinion of, you know, I need this particular service, can you recommend someone? And you can go to, you know, you get 3, 4, 5 quotes or whatever. I'll just use that as an example. And the one that you wind up going with may not necessarily be the cheapest, but it'll be the person that you most feel comfortable with. So when you're in that healing space, it becomes the same. You know, you can have, you know, there are more and more people now doing sound baths, but again, it's people will go to those that they resonate with, and that's fine, because I know that at some point that the people that are coming to me now may then want to move on to somebody else because they're on a different part of their journey. So I'm quite happy with that, you know, whereas before I would have gone, is it something I've done? Did I do something wrong? You know, but you see what I mean? Like, it's just as things are progressing and the way my way of thinking has changed, I'm not making it about me. It's about everybody else. And that's essentially why, you know, we do what we do, is to, you know, to connect people with each other, and, you know, to be able to provide healing in whatever forms, and, you know, whoever resonates with who will go to them. So my stuff is very simplified. So and look, I know that I've got a lot of learning to do, but if I didn't think that, then I'd be a bit obnoxious. So we never stop learning. That's the true honesty of it. You never stop learning.
That's absolutely 100% correct. If you stop learning, as my granddad used to say, when you stop learning, you die.
Yep. It's like the plant and the watering business. Yep. Yep.
Because, I mean, it's a bit of a very straightforward slap to the head way of talking about it. But basically, he's 100% correct, because there is, you know, the brain needs to stay active. It needs to be challenged to be able to remain healthy. And, you know, sitting in front of a TV and blobbing out is not healthy. It's not activating your brain. It's sending you into sleep mode. And so unless you're watching the computer or something to learn, like using that as a learning tool, essentially you're killing your brain. So then after you kill your brain, you die. See, simplistic.
Happy joy.
I'm glad you get my sense of humor. It's great.
I've always said I'm a unique individual, and I'm comfortable with that.
Me too. I never used to think I was particularly funny, but then, because most of my family would just look at me like, "Oh, the fuck is she on about?" And I'd be sitting there pissing myself laughing, and they're just like, "Nah." Then I changed my audience, and my audience now thinks I'm funny because I think I'm funny. Yep. There you go. Oh dear. So I'd love to know, in your wee journey that you've had so far, and this could be your 47-year journey or your 7-year journey, whichever, what is your most tastiest moment in life so far?
I'm not going the food wise, because I'm okay. So I would have to say that for me, it's actually been quite recent. I had a client come in. So I do the SoulNar healing in the salt room. And this client lost her partner last year. And she's come in and we've done a session. And for me, when I was learning to do SoulNar, I'm thinking, this seems really easy. I must be doing something wrong, you know, straight off the bat, because, you know, everything in life has to be hard. Not. So it couldn't be for the simple fact that, you know, it's something that I'm meant to be doing. But anyway, we digress. So doing, I'm going through everything, and I'm at her feet, and I've got, holding onto her feet, eyes closed, just really immerse myself in the session. And then I have this clear quartz lamp underneath the table while I'm doing the session. So all of a sudden, I've heard a crack and a pop, like as if a light bulb has exploded. And even with my eyes closed, I felt like a flash. So immediately I've gone, oh, crap, I've just blown up the salt room. But I just thought, okay, no, just calm down, because, she can sense it. So we kept going. At the end of it afterwards, I thought, because I always ask, how do you feel at the end of the session? Was there anything that came up for you, blah, blah, blah. And I said to her, I think we had a visitor. She said, yes. He came to me and he kissed me like he was above me, and he kissed me on the mouth. Even now to this day, as I tell this story, I get goosebumps. Even just like at the back of my neck, it just feels like it's, and to me, that has been, in everything that I have done in my life, that would have to be the most rewarding. And even the word rewarding probably doesn't even describe it as best as it can be, but it's just the most amazing feeling to have been able to give her that experience. I just cannot explain it. It's just amazing. Like that's the best I can explain it. But every time I think of that or talk about it, I just head to toe goosebumps. Like everything just stands on end. So yes, that would have to be it.
Seriously, I've still got goosebumps.
I feel like goosebumps. But yeah.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I have those capacities as well with, the spirit world and things, and I can very quickly tune in on those moments in time, and wow, what a big, there's some beautiful energy, and I just felt it right here in my heart space. It was just like, oh, and I'm like, okay, and we're good.
Well, I think for me it was like, oh my God, I did that. Because for me, it's just like, I always thought that, to have these abilities, you either had to be born with it or, whatever. So I never believed that I could do that. And it was just like, and I was just like, wow, even still now, it's sort of like, it's just like a big wow moment for me, going, I was able to provide that. And it just still wows me, but yeah, so that would have to be my tastiest moment.
So far.
So far, yes.
There will be more. So we mentioned a couple of times about SoulNar. Could you tell us a little bit more about SoulNar, please, and what that is, how...
Yeah. So
to those of us who have absolutely no bloody idea about it at all.
So SoulNar is a combination of energy healing and sound healing as well. So throughout the treatments, I'm talking about a regular SoulNar treatment now. This is not one that's in the salt room. The process is still the same, but obviously you get the extra oomph with the salt therapy to boot. But SoulNar is that combination of sound and energy healing. So I'm going to get a big smack if I say that it's like Reiki, but typically Reiki is the thing that people know most about. So, but we use a crystal bowl that's tuned to the heart chakra, and we use a 528 chime and the tincture bells as well. So essentially we start off with running through a breathing technique, essentially to calm the client down, get them to rest, relax, then run through a process of going through, and it's clearing all the chakras. So we're using the crystal bowl, we're using the chime bar as well, and then so we run through that process 3 times at head and feet twice, And on the second time that we're at the head and feet, we're sealing and grounding as well. And then we finish off with the teacher bell. So basically it is all about working with the vibrations and energy of the body. So we're giving it a good old dust and clean, a big old clear out through the chakras, because obviously in the work that you do, well, we all know that when we start feeling all blocked and stuck and everything, things just start feeling heavy and yuck and blah. And then that next layer of doing it in the salt room is what it's just next level, so you're getting all the respiratory benefits from salt therapy, but you're also getting that extra layer of cleansing as well that salt brings. And we had Jürgen Schmidt coming in and he went through with his his meter, and he was basically saying that this is the only room in the world that he can think of that does not get any of the radiation readings at all. Like, it is just absolutely, it's almost like a protective bubble in there. Wow. And we firmly believe that it's from the salt. Yes, it's decorated and lined the Himalayan salt, as you know, because you've visited, so we've been pushing our plans. Salt's very it's just that very cleansing. And then of course I've got the clear quartz going in there and all the crystals, and it's great. And we use the selenite crystal, place that on the body during the healing, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And when we were talking earlier about that the universe provides, and we meet people at the time that we're ready to meet them, etc. And met the beautiful Bianca, who is the creator of SoulNar Healing, and she is just an amazing, beautiful person. When Jim and I went to the Boho Lux markets last year in October, we were having a bit of a wander around, and I was like a magpie with shiny objects. Everything was like, oh, so exciting. And we were about to actually leave her stall because we could see people having these sessions. And I remember commenting to Jim and saying, how can people be so rested in such a loud environment, because these are the showgrounds. And this is just how beautiful and gentle. It's the most amazing modalities. You just have to just lay there and receive. It's great. And people are zoned out completely. And we were about to leave the stall, and then it was almost just like she appeared like an angel from wherever. And I reckon within the first couple of minutes, it's like we had known her forever. So then we started talking, and then we had the first Adelaide or South Australian SoulNar healing training in October last year. So it's been amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember saying to her, am I doing this right? Because it feels very easy. And she's like, it's just because you are where you are meant to be. Oh, so she's amazing at what she does, and she's just been a beautiful teacher as well. She's great.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And this is what I say to the audience and to my other guests. I love the fact that I have this platform where I can get to introduce so many other people to other modalities and other tools and techniques of healing. Because while each of us individually know that our tools are amazing and they can provide so much help and support and healing and all of that, there's something really potent and powerful about experiencing different modalities and different ways of healing too. And because not all of our experiences are varied. And so they do require different techniques sometimes, and I don't think there's a single healer in the whole world that has got all of the stuff down.
No.
They can't handle absolutely everything. We've all got our own little niches that we can play with. And while there is some crossover, of course, in certain areas, there'll be some that are just far better off going elsewhere. I had somebody ask me if I work with teenagers, and I'm like, I can. but I actually know someone else who's much better equipped to deal with that. So here you go.
It's a tribe that, that we each bring something unique and different, even if it was the same modality, because we're not, even as people, our personalities aren't the same. We don't like everything the same. So, well, I mean, how boring would life be if that was the case? So, all of that hurt.
Oh dear. So, with your experiences of leaning into healing and, even though you've been working your corporate job at the same time and all that sort of stuff, like, I'm going to ask this, you can take it which way you would like, but what sort of top tips would you give to somebody just beginning their spiritual and or business journey?
I think the biggest thing would be to let go of any expectations. That would be, I think, my top tip, because quite often if we go in with these preconceived thoughts, you could be going into the healing that you need to be going into, but if you're going in with certain expectations, there's already a barrier that you're putting up. I think the other thing would be is don't be disheartened if you come across somebody that you don't gel with. Don't tar every form of healing modality with the same brush, or even other people in that that do that healing modality. It just means that person may not have been the right one for you, and just to keep trying, and be open as much as you can, I think, and just really reaching out and seeking help, because that is something that as a society we still don't do very well. Whether it's because we're scared to, we feel judged or whatever, we just don't do it very well. So I think, and then stepping into the role of the healer, part of that, well, I know for me that what I expect of myself is to help people that may be in that part of their journey where they're a little bit scared to move forward because they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, or maybe they've had a bad experience. And just to keep encouraging them, like really be that support for them. I'm a big hugger, and I know not everybody is, but I just have this thing that as soon as I see people getting upset, I need to hug them. But I also need to remember about personal space, and some people don't like it. So I need to ask permission first. But again, this is my thing, like even with my yoga teaching, for me, I laugh with, like, I would have to be the craziest person out there when it comes to it. Like, my yoga is not like your typical one. And so I laugh and call it yoga, because playlists aren't very yoga-y. It's just whatever. Because to me, no matter what you do in life, it should have fun. Life is too short to not have fun. Of course, I take it seriously. There's a serious elements to it. But quite often, there'll be either myself and a few of the other students in the class that if I've got a playlist, that they'll start singing, and I'm like, absolutely, sing as you go. I mean, of course, we start wobbling all over the place because we're not focusing. But the whole thing about having fun, yet again, it's just letting go of certain expectations, I think, and really connecting with people, and just keep trying and really reaching out, and being brave to do so, because it takes a lot of courage to ask for help, particularly if you've come from a space where asking for help was considered weak, or you were punished for it, etc. And I get that there's a whole realm, and that's another 25 shows to talk in, but it's a big thing for me to really support people. And even if it's something that I can't help them with, I will happily refer them to where I feel that they will be most helped.
Yeah, I'm the same. And I've been like that no matter what area or what business I've been working in as well. It's like, if we can't help, then I'll direct you on to those who can.
Yeah.
It's and a lot of people are very appreciative of that too. They're like, oh wow, thank you so much, and it's like,
Yeah,
of course, like, if I know of somebody who can help, then I will, and just the same as it all comes back around in the end anyway.
It's just about being honest with people and open. And, a big part of how Breathe Stretch Flow came about was the simple fact that, and it's not my story to tell, but, but I will say that, on Jim's journey, when he was looking for options, that all he came across were people trying to sell him snake oil, and expensive snake oil. So our whole thing is, what you see is what you get with us. There's no graces or anything. And, we wanted to put together a space, a healing space that people came where they felt safe, they felt they could connect with other people, and it be that real sense of community, because there are a lot of lonely people out there that don't have family, they don't have friends, and all they want is just to feel part of something. And that's what we've tried to do with Breathe Stretch Flow, what I've tried to do with Boho Buddha, just with anything that we do, that has been our whole aim, was to allow people to feel safe, create that safe space for them to come in and heal in whatever way that looks for them, and for them to feel part of something and connected with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you be able to just quickly run off the sorts of things that you've got at Breathe Stretch Flow? Because we haven't really dove too much into that. Obviously, there's a yoga studio there's the salt caves, but I know there's some other cool little things that you've got going on over there.
We have 2 float tanks. So float therapy is really good for people that suffer from stress, anxiety, PTSD, chronic pain. So the magnesium in the Epsom salt is really great for helping with that chronic pain, help with muscle relief as well. So, we've got a lot of athletes that come in that will use both the float and salt services, floating obviously from that muscle relaxing and brain relaxing perspective. On the flip side as well, that floating is really great for boosting creativity. A lot of athletes use it to boost, their sports performance, so that, their sports visualization. Salt therapy is great for respiratory conditions. We've had a lot of people coming in that have been suffering for, what's been labelled as long COVID effects. And, we've had the beautiful Barb that came to us in 2019 with a month to live, and she's still with us. And, her and her husband come in 3 times a week, and they're just absolutely beautiful. They're in their 80s, and we love it. It's like having our grandies coming in, they're beautiful. I love it. Absolutely love it. And the yoga studio as well. So both Leanne and I recently ran a day retreat. And we've also got another one coming up on the 14th of May. So we run little workshops and retreats in there. I actually ran an overnight retreat last year in October. So organised to have these little teepees set up in a circle around. It was great. They were actually for children, but they did try and adult them as much as they could. It's just, again, it's introducing that fun stuff. And finally, Jim, so I explained that I do the SoulNar healing in the salt room, salt cave. We do sound baths as well. And Jim also does something called havening technique, which is we call it a trauma therapy, I guess you could say. Now, I describe it very simply because I'm a very visual person. So I describe it as the cutting of the emotional umbilical cord to any fear, trauma, or anything where someone has gone through that basically has stopped them from moving forward. Great for people with, obviously PTSD comes in, a variety of, forms. And he's had amazing results with that. And he's been able to knock it on the head. I think the shortest time he's been able to do it is within 20 minutes, but the sessions are typically an hour in the salt room. So again, you're getting the benefit of havening and the salt therapy. But again, it's about locating that source of the original point in time of where the event, well, we call it an event, where that occurred, and him just, knocking it on the head, collapsing it. I've got to use the right words, otherwise I'll get into trouble, you see. So collapsing the emotions that surrounds that particular event. So then, like any time in the future, then that someone goes to think about that event, there's actually no emotional trigger or no emotions that are actually connected with it anymore, because you're essentially just collapsed it and it's detached. It's not even a thing anymore. So it's just been absolutely amazing. Yes. So, and people can read up on the Breathe, Stretch, Float website as well, more about that, and always call for his more scientific description. We work very well together because, I'm quite out there and he's quite reserved. He's very scientific in his descriptions. I'm very simplified. Well together.
I love that. And to our beautiful viewers, it has just started raining here by my house. So if we go a little bit in and out, but just please bear with us. We're nearly at the end of the show. I'm grateful that the rain held off, but my internet connection can be a bit of a bugger sometimes. So I'm so glad that you have come together, both of you, and are offering this service in Adelaide. I think it's just bloody amazing. It's so cool. And I have only seen a small portion of the venue so far, but I know that there's some float tank time coming up soon, and, looking forward to that. I've never been in a float tank, so that would be quite an experience for me, that's for sure.
It is the first time I've been able to fully float, because if I'm in a pool, the lower half of me just goes, and it doesn't really, you're in not with that sound, of course, but there's 350 kilos of Epsom salts in that tank. You are going to float. There is no hows, whys, whatevers, you will float. So, because I know, and you can keep the lid open or closed, because I know that some people go, oh, but it's just like, no. And I must say, I have actually heard Jim's orientation prior to a float, and it is amazing. It is so good. And I'm not just saying that because I love it. It is awesome. You will get to experience it when you go in. It is pretty good.
I'm looking forward to it for sure. So before we head into our last and most tasty question, just as a little teaser, this beautiful woman, Jo, and myself, and Tanya, and Leanne, who's in the chat as well at the moment, and our other beautiful guest that was on last week, Susan, we have teamed up this year. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because we're still just teasing it out to everybody.
Suspense a little bit longer. Get them excited.
But we will be, what I can tell you is that we are going to be doing some events for the beautiful women of South Australia. And I'm so fucking thrilled because we've got Jo, who obviously you've gotten to know tonight. You can go back and have a look at the show from last week and learn a little bit more about Susan. And Tanya's been on a couple of times, and Leanne's going to come up in a couple of weeks. She's going to be on here in a couple of weeks. And for those of you who are regulars to me and my healing modalities, well, you have maybe a little bit of an idea of what sort of things I'll be offering. But together, the five of us are going to be going on tour. And so excited. So excited. And I'm just, as you can see in the chat there, the ladies are just, yes, woo-hoo, yes, so excited. We are absolutely just thrilled to have come together, and all of our energies just mesh and gel, just doing this yummy party thing. And I'm just so happy. It's like I said, last year was a year of a lot of chill and rebirthing, coming around, recalibrating. You know, there were so many things that came together, and it's like this year I feel in being able to join with all of you together, it's just like I just feel so thrilled, and it's just like yay. And
I get excited. They reach for the cheeks. It's like
it's just like I'm gonna burst. I have to hold my cheeks in. So yes, exactly as Tanya says, creating something incredible for women to connect. Yep. And this is all sending my bars off something chronic, because all of you, the people out there that are all starting to energetically connect, are going, oh, really? What are you up to? What are you doing? I want to know more. And I'm just like, going, yep. And
yeah,
you can come and just keep being curious. So yeah. And I love the fact that we've got 5 quite different offerings and personalities coming together, and yet we all just flow so nicely. It's so cool.
Yeah.
You know, we've all got a bit of a cracker personalities and jokesters, and you know, we just enjoy having fun, and that's the best part. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yes. All right, last question before we cruise off into our evenings. If you could sit next to any person, and they can be dead or alive, they can be in spirit realm or not, to any person on a park bench for the afternoon, who would it be?
Hands down, no brainer, my grandma. So I lost my grandma about a month after my 21st. So she was only 66. And I feel very honored and privileged that out of the 3 generations of us, I feel that if I was to delve back, I feel that my mum's always had the abilities there, or like that, just, yeah, something there. And same with my grandmother as well. Like, I feel that each one of us has been very unique in our families of where we were placed. And each, like with my grandmother and my mum, the way they were raised, very strict, domestic violence, like horrible. But I feel that if they could have been out there in the world doing their stuff, it would be doing what I'm doing right now. So I feel I would love to be able to sit there with her and just thank her for everything that she has done in her life, for just her. She was like a second mum to me, and it took me a very long time and a lot of work to actually get past the grief of losing her. But I've turned that around now, that I always feel that she's with me. And I know that she'd be proud, you know, of what I've done. And I do owe it to her. And I also owe it to mum, especially because coming from how mum grew up, and then in her marriage, she was very firm in saying, I was kept a prisoner at home, not allowed to go out and experience the world and be able to have the choices in what I do, you know, who I'm friends with, you know, who I marry, etc. And I was through hers and my grandmother's lives and experiences, I was able to have my life the way it was. So she essentially, I think, just started the paving, really. So I feel that I've got a lot that I owe her, even though if I was to sit with her and say that, she'd go, I didn't do anything. But yeah, absolutely. And I'd love it if it was her, mum and I, that it would just be us 3 again, because when we lost her, you know, what 21-year-old, you know, you think your grandparents are going to be around forever and a day. And, you know, I don't feel that I just appreciated enough while she was here. So, you know, I think for me, a lot of apologizing and just healing as well as thanking. So yeah, but I know that she's around me, and I know that she'd be proud of everything that we've done. So yeah,
absolutely.
yes.
Oh, I love that you have that relationship with her. And yes, I can feel it. It's just the warm, wrapped up hug. I love it. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for coming to play. Thank you for joining in with Tasty Tuesdays. It has been a real honor and a privilege to have you come and enjoy this space with us so that we can get to learn about you a little bit more and hopefully send some people your way, with Boho Buddha, or like when they see that little name pop up now, they're like, oh, I remember that chick. She was on Tasty Tuesdays with Lorraine. Oh, yeah. Or like even just to get to know that you have the Himalayan salt room, that you have the float tanks and the yoga room, and that there is this thing called havening that can be an offering as well. I mean, I know Jim's not on the show with us, but it's sort of we've managed to sneak him in there. And I think that's really important that these different offerings are out there in the community, and that we are sharing them with each other. And I just love it.
And even if people can't get into the city as well, I'm actually going to be in the Healing Sanctuary at the Goodness Me Festival, not this weekend but the following weekend. So that's
beautiful.
Out at Riverdale Spiritual Centre. So
cool.
Yes. So I've got all the info on my deets, all my deets on the socials, on the internets.
And of course, if you wish to get a session with Jo, as it has been rolling across the bottom, everything is, in the show notes and stuff. Oh, there's Jim. Thank you for watching, Jim.
I know, I'm a goober, but I love it. I remember I said to you, I'm only 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. That's all right. I'm 8. All righty. Okay, everybody. So next week on Tasty Tuesdays, we have Melissa Wilkies, who is actually from Perth. Her business is called Improve Yourself. So I'm looking forward to catching up with her next week. And in the meantime, I'll be back on Friday for Find You Fridays, because that's always fun to do. In the meantime, everybody, please be aware that it is the full moon tonight. So it's a fabulous time to do that release work. And, even if you can't see the moon, just having that intention of, doing a little prayer out to the moon to release the things that are no longer serving you. Begin focusing. Full moons are really wonderful for focusing the energy of what you desire to manifest and actualize in your life. So there's also a nice time to focus on those goals of what you'd like to achieve for the next, week, month, year, whatever. So pop that into your little manifesting ceremony there, and your moon ceremony. And even if you don't do the full layout with the candle and all, even if you just take a few moments, like 30 seconds to a minute, and you stand there and you look at the sky with the general direction of the moon, and you just do a little prayer and ask for what you desire to either release and or to create, that is actually very potent and powerful just within itself. So it doesn't have to be, say something 3 times 3 and, just do a special candle or whatever. Our words and intention are just as potent and powerful as anything else that we can do.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, happy full moon energy. Woo! It's certainly been ramping up it's been doing interesting things to me this week, that's for sure.
Yes. That's another show.
Absolutely. All righty, everybody. I will see you on Friday at 8 p.m. Adelaide time. Until next time, be bold, be brave, be you, my beautiful ones. Get out there, do something tasty for yourself. I don't really care what it is. Just go and do something yummy and tasty for you. And until next time, bye-bye. And thank you, Jo.